Yeah, Doe one, Rocky Mountain Sports Report. Yeah, live and direct.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday morning edition of 4th&99, your Denver Bronco and NFL pregame show. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Keith.
Morning, Dave.
Morning.
First of all, we want to congratulate Keith. 22 years of wonderful marriage. So congrats. He's even taken time out from his little trip to join us from Park City, Utah. So you doing any skiing or anything today? Or is there not open yet?
Not open yet, yeah.
No.
Blowing the hill full of snow, and they had a little storm last week, but nothing really to look at much right now. So
Right. So
about a month.
Yeah. So. All right. First of all, before we get rolling, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors. We got the Stokedy Fire Barbecue Superstore in Loveland, Colorado. Get with Frank; he'll hook you up for all your barbecue needs. If you're a competition guy, he can help you out. If you're just a weekend warrior on the weekends in your backyard, go ahead and hit up Frank. He'll help you out, and he can also help you improve your barbecue game. So, and we got Avacor Mobile Power Wash and commercial power washing needs. So hit them up for anything you need, like fleets of trucks that you need clean, dumpsters, things like that. And then we got Willow Seasonings and Blends, a Colorado veteran-owned company that produces barbecue seasonings and I guess just seasonings in general, since we have a fajita seasoning. So you can use it on barbecue if you want. So, but for the month of October, use the code GHOST15 and you'll get a 15% product discount. All right, take it away, Matt.
Awesome. I just want to see, is anyone else hearing a little bit of feedback?
I'm hearing some sound like keyboard typing.
Okay, let's see. I don't hear anymore. I wonder if the speakers just turned up a little too high, but it's all right. We'll dive into it. We'll figure it out as we go along on the fly. First and foremost, I think we just dive right into the injury report. What do you gents think?
That's a perfect place to start, with the injury report. I think the Broncos, for the most part, are coming into this game, fairly healthy. Got a couple questionable guys. Of course, Jerry Jeudy's still out. But the good news is he's been cleared to practice, so hopefully we see him back soon. I hope they don't try to rush him for Thursday's game at Cleveland. Maybe give him another week just to test that ankle out and make sure everything's good.
Yeah,
so
I think that the big one, he's the one who's no longer listed on the injury report, and that's Ronald Darby. Today will be his first game back.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see. He said he's been ready for a couple weeks, but they wanted to ease him back into it. The complete opposite of what they decided to do with Teddy last week.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what his impact is. To me, what that signals is if he's not getting the start today, Patrick Surtain and Kyle Fuller's leash is extremely short, and we know Vic Fangio is not afraid to put somebody in the doghouse. We see.
Well, and maybe you can clear something up, Matt, because I heard rumors that Darby's starting in Fuller's place. Have you heard that?
I did not see that, but also I was not hooked to my phone yesterday. I was out of town visiting their grandma.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's 100% true. I just sort of heard it in passing. Keith, have you heard anything on that? You're still muted.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but I'm kind of similar to Matt. I've been on the road, obviously, as I'm down here in Park City, Utah. So didn't get the update on that one. We need to search that out if we can. So
yeah, I'll definitely look and see if I can find anything. But I agree with Matt. If Fuller does start, I think Fuller's on a short leash. I mean, Fuller, out of him and Surtain, has been the weak link. I think Fuller's been the weak link in our secondary this year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Justin Simmons is not too far behind. Today is going to be a very big challenge for him. He also found himself on the injury report this week with a hand injury, but he practiced all week. So hopefully that's not going to impact him too much today. because he's going to have his hands full. Darren Waller's a top 3 tight end in this league, and they're with the Raiders situation, rather it be fortunate, unfortunate, wherever your stance lies with it. They're going to go back to basics, and the basics for them is attacking that tight end. So Vic has to be creative today in how he chooses to handle Waller, and I don't think isolating Simmons one-on-one is going to be the way to win. But we talk about us coming in relatively healthy. The only other people we have, Mike Ford, special teams guy, he's going to be out with the knee injury. He hit the IR yesterday, so he's going to be out for at least 3 weeks. We got Kareem Jackson, who he said is questionable. Melvin Gordon is questionable with a hip injury. And Aaron Patrick, another special teams guy, is questionable with an ankle injury. He did not practice yesterday, so I think that means he's probably not going to play when the final injury report comes out before the game. Before we hop into the Raiders, though, I want to highlight Melvin Gordon really quick, because we seen him last week not look the greatest, and he was on the injury report last week. Do we need to see him kind of take a back seat instead of it being a split carries today with him and Williams? Do we need to see them ride Williams and let Gordon get back to himself? Because we've seen him struggle with injuries in the past. When he's hurt, and he stays hurt. So what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think we've been speaking for a while about letting Williams, get the ball a little bit more and certainly ride that hot hand that he tends to have within games. This would be a perfect game for Williams to take the lead and Gordon to maybe spell him as needed, just to give him a breather here and there. That's how I would end up utilizing him, but we'll just end up seeing what the coaching decisions come down to today. So,
yeah, and I agree. I think that we should really feature Williams today. I mean, if this is the second week in a row that Gordon's been on the IR, or not the IR, the injury report with, the same injury. So I think, let's try to let him rest it up a little bit. We got a short week coming up next week. So if we can ride Williams, Mike Boone coming back today.
Oh yeah, see, Mike Boone is also returning today. Look at
right.
that.
So that's another back you have back there that can help take some of the workload. So we're not, beating up Melvin Gordon too much. So
we knew it was coming sooner or later.
It has to come every Sunday. It comes.
It comes every Wednesday. It comes every Sunday.
Pretty soon we'll hear about. Pretty soon we'll hear about Teddy Bridgewater playing nose tackle.
Or so, who knows? Maybe right guard.
Maybe they'll have maybe Victor wants Teddy on Waller today.
He's only about as big as Waller's calf. So let's just throw it out there, But so going over into Las Vegas's injury report really quick, they have 2 guys. Jonathan Hankins is doubtful, which he didn't practice at all this week. So I'm assuming he's likely going to be out today. Quentin Jefferson was limited yesterday. He's questionable, but that's their starting defensive tackle. So if you want to find a weakness on this defense right now, their defense isn't phenomenal. It's an NFL defense. Let's be real. They're going to eventually have good games. It looks like they're going to be weak up the middle. So maybe this is where we see us go back to what I think many of us have been preaching for weeks, a balanced approach, because we sure as heck need to get back to balance. So,
yeah.
All right, I got a couple comments coming in. Let's see this one. Good morning, fellas. Who has to have an all-pro performance today to become victorious? By the way, best trio talking Denver Broncos, Keith, Matt, and Dave, Coach Arians.
Not anymore.
I know.
Not anymore,
I don't know
Kenny.
if I feel the connection anymore. The beard is gone.
The beard is gone.
Kenny. I don't know what he's done.
Bruce Arians called me and said, dude, get rid of the beard because I'm tired of people thinking that you are me.
Is he trying to trademark the beard now?
So I said, all right, Bruce. So I did it for Coach, man.
You're gonna have to pass me the deets. I'm gonna have to have a conversation. I'm just kidding. But this is a great question. I think this is a good point. So Who has to have an all pro performance today to become victorious? Let's start with you, Keith.
Start with me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going right to Justin Simmons and number 31. If you
Okay.
look at the Raiders offense, their big vertical game is where they're at. Average depth of target is 9.6 yards. That's 7th in the league. 20 plus yard attempts, 35, and that's 1st in the league. Big throws beyond 20 plus yards, 19. That's 1st in the league. We've seen too many times where Simmons has been beaten by fast guys. They have a little guy named Henry Ruggs, and that's going to be a big matchup today, in my opinion. Justin Simmons needs to ball out.
Absolutely. What about you, Dave?
I'm going to go with Von Miller. I think Von Miller needs to disrupt the passing game. We cannot let Derek Carr sit back there all day. This guy will destroy us. He's done it before. So we need to put pressure on him, make him uncomfortable in the pocket. I'll tell you what, if Denver can't put pressure on him, it's going to be a long day because I don't think our secondary can cover Waller and Ruggs and all those guys. So it'll turn into a long day. And they got Jacobs coming out of the backfield on screens who can be pretty dang dangerous too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's one person I want to pay, and that's not a player, and that's Pat Shurmur. I think we need an all-pro performance from Pat today. Not only because his job on the line, which I mean, where I think everyone in Denver is jumping for joy every week we hear he's closer to being gone. I mean, that's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, he's here, and we need to see something from this offense because we've seen a dominant performance offensively where you're balanced, you're rushing over 100 yards, you're passing, there's no turnovers, you're putting up points to predictable. It's being predictable 2 weeks in a row. It's constantly putting ourselves in 3rd and long, 3rd and distance, and it's essentially the same format every single drive, and it's leading to 4 and outs, and it's putting too much pressure on our defense and making these games become almost out of reach early. We hit the panic button too early. We see him hit the panic button early today. If he hits the panic button with Derek Carr is going to throw for 300 yards today. So got to bring the balance back, Pat. I need your all-star performance to be today because I don't want to get on here saying we lost to the Raiders later. Don't want it.
Don't want it. Agreed. Good call.
I agree. So and to address Kenny's question, yeah, it would be nice if Chubb showed up, but unfortunately he's still on the IR, so
yeah,
he won't show up today.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be on the sideline as a moral character. So
yeah, it's that's a rough gig because we talked about Chubb on Thursday, and at what point do you determine someone being a medical bust? Because I don't want to call him a bust.
He's not a bust.
A waste. Because we unfortunately out of all of these seasons we've only got to see a very limited limited amount of what he's capable of, and half of it's been good and half of it's been
injured.
Yeah, when he's healthy, he's good. He has the talent. I mean, the guy's just one of these guys plagued by injuries, and I agree with you, Matt. When do we deem him a medical bust? I mean, I hate to deem anybody a medical bust, Yeah. But I mean, unfortunately, this is his 3rd major injury that he's had with the Broncos.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and the hard thing is this was going to be the year where we really got to see what Chubb had, and because we seen what happened when we seen how dominant and not necessarily dominant, how dominant Von Miller and Chubb can be together. And then we seen him be a better edge rusher with Vaughn. When Vaughn was gone, we seen him have a huge step back and not ready to be that guy, be the leading edge rusher, be the one that they're fearful of. He wasn't ready for that role. He jumped into shoes that were too big for him, essentially. And we have to question ourselves: was he not ready for that role last year because of all the injuries he faced prior to having to be in that role? Now he's going to get what he was going to get another year with Vaughn. And now here we are going into week 6 with we're going into this week with him on an injured reserve again. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a lot of potential that we put into a 5th round pick that we just had. The 5th pick in the draft that we just haven't seen. Obviously play out. You know what I mean? It's devastating to put that much into it and to have an every other year type of performance out of somebody because of injury. So, boy,
Yeah.
it would be nice. It'd be nice to get them back and have them healthy and have a push late. But right now we're relying on the other guys. But today's the day that we can maybe still make some noise on that side. They started off Leatherwood at right tackle, their guy, and they had to kick him inside. He was doing terrible. They put Parker out at right tackle, and he's got some of the worst run blocking, pass blocking, penalties, you name it. He's just been getting eaten alive. So their right tackle position is hurting, and that's typically the opposite of Von Miller. And that guy should have, whoever it happens to be, should be able to have a day-to-day. So,
yeah. And I agree. I mean, and that's why I said Vaughn needs to be huge today. And hopefully, Vaughn being huge will also, free up Malik Reed too. So, even if Vaughn is disrupting where it's allowing other people along the defensive line to make some plays, I'm good with that as well. I mean, it's not always sacks that count, but if you can disrupt the passing game or make it so they're sliding extra protection on you, then that's going to free up somebody else. So
correct.
Hopefully today, this defensive front four can put some pressure on a QB, because we haven't seen them do that consistently since week 3, maybe.
Yeah. And this is another, we touched on this a little bit on Thursday too. So I went back and I rewatched the Steelers game, and then I went back and I rewatched the Ravens game. And one of the big things was we were trying to figure out where is the blitz? Where's the blitz? I come to find out that, we've been blitzing often, but the problem is the blitz has been ineffective because we're calling it. He's just calling it nonstop. Essentially, we're just getting swallowed up in the middle. So instead of putting all the, maybe back off the blitz, because what's happening is you're getting swallowed up in the middle. And then we're seeing our corners and our safeties get beat because they're left on an island, because, you're blitzing, 6, 7 guys at a time, and you're not getting to the quarterback. So they have all day to run around, and you can't ask these guys to cover forever. That's when we see big plays happen. That's when we see dumb penalties happen. So instead of getting blitzing often, I want to see him take a step back from the blitz today. I want to see him get creative. Where's those interior defensive line stunts we seen last year when we were creating the interior pressure? Because we had to find ways to make pressure last year with Vaughn out, Bradley Chubb being kind of swallowed up in that role that we just talked about. So let's get that interior pressure back. Let's send the dogs in. Where's Draymond Jones coming on the blitz, the wraparound Purcell, or not the blitz, but the stunt around Purcell? Well, I mean, Shelby Harris has been almost ineffective this year because there's no interior pressure. We're not seeing the batted balls. We're just seeing our essentially our defensive linemen being gap fillers, and we're trying to get creative with these blitzes, but they're just not becoming effective. So create the interior push. Let's see if we can start fanning these quarterbacks towards Von Miller, towards Malik Reed, instead of sending the dogs all the time. And stop sending a member of the secondary for a blitz unless it's a calculated risk. Because if you just do it over and over and over again, like it was great with Caden Stearns, but now you've done it 6 times in 2 games, you become predictable. Yeah. So we need to bring some of the mystery back to our defense, and that's going to have to fall on Vic's shoulders.
Yeah, and the last 2 teams that we played, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, are both teams that are very good at picking up blitzes. And if you have a smart quarterback, they're gonna figure out where the blitz is coming from. Derek Carr is a smart quarterback. He's going to figure out where the blitz is going to come from, and he's either going to call a hot route away from it, or he's going to align his protection to get the people where they need to be. So I agree with Matt. We can't just come out and full out blitz. I mean, use the defensive line stunts that we have not used. I haven't really seen them this year at all. And use your blitzes, but not at times, don't just say, okay, we're just going to blitz all the time. We're going to leave our secondary in bad situations.
Yep. Absolutely. 100% agree. I'd like to see some overload blitzes. I saw it last week when we were even playing Pittsburgh that, especially like someone with Caden Stearns, he's young, he's a rookie, and he too many times, got caught showing the blitz, which someone like Ben Roethlisberger will just eat you up if he knows exactly where you're coming from. You know, it's no different. I mean, it's obviously a little bit different, but when we go up against Carr, like you said, he's a smart quarterback. We can't be telegraphing what we're going to be doing on defense. It'll be a long day if that's the case. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So shifting focus, because we brought up Derek Carr several times in the last few minutes, and he started off the season. I mean, I hate to say it as a Bronco fan, but he started off the season lights out. I mean, he was looking to be pushing himself into that, top 12-ish range of quarterbacks in the league. But since what we've seen is each week a steadily decline, leading up to a pretty bad performance last week in Chicago.
correct.
It's essentially he started off 435 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and then it's dropped by about 100 yards every week since the Dolphins game. So he's barely broke 200 yards since the Dolphins game. So 2 weeks with only around 200 passing yards. Denver has to take the blueprint of what the Chargers and what the Bears have shown and create. It's not creating pressure; it's creating calculated pressure, in my opinion. He's not going to beat you around the edges. We're not having to fear the run. But the one thing they have to be careful with today is he likes to dump it down. He's similar to how Teddy Bridgewater likes to find the check down. Derek Carr's great at finding the check down. They got Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake is a great receiving back. So we got to make sure we're aware of that, because the other thing that kills us, other than tight ends, is receiving running backs. So this is going to be a stylistic matchup to keep an eye on, and we got to keep Carr and Drake connection to a minimum, in my opinion.
The one thing I was kind of surprised at when you dug into their numbers, though, is Kenyon Drake has been constantly dropping and has been utilized hardly at all in the last couple of games. So I know that we're underneath a whole completely different head coach, but I mean, not only has it been the running game with Josh Jacobs kind of disappearing, their screen game hasn't been there at all, and Kenyon Drake has completely fallen off. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Gruden out. I mean, we don't need to drag up with the whole Gruden thing, but you know what I mean, with a new head coach in there and see if there's any change in philosophy and idea, because right now they're a one-trick pony type of offense heading into this week, which was big vertical for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that we can stop the run game. I mean, we did it against Baltimore. I mean, we held them to right around 100 yards. I mean, Pittsburgh didn't destroy us in the running game, I mean, Najee, got 100 yards, but excuse me. But I think that's one thing we need to do is we need to make the Raiders one-dimensional. And then once we make them one-dimensional, we need to be able to put pressure on the quarterback.
100% agree. And the biggest thing I think today is one thing we keep focused on is predictability, because we talk about it offensively. Shermer's play calling has become predictable. Defensively, Vic Fangio has become somewhat predictable. Today is the perfect game, as Kenny mentions here. This Las Vegas team is in turmoil. They got coaches flipping over. They've been on a steadily decline. They're on a 2-game skid, just like Denver is. This is on your turf. Everyone needs to take a deep breath and go back to what was working and find that balance. You shouldn't be calling 44% more of your plays as blitzes. That's almost the entire game you're blitzing in this sense. So find the stability, create your calculated pressure, and you're a good football team against the run anyways. But when you're stacking everyone in to go after the quarterback constantly, Najee Harris is going to get 19, 20 attempts and eat you alive. They have no problem doing that same exact thing with Josh Jacobs. You want to give them the run because you're so worried about the pass, then they're going to eat you alive. You got to find the balance today.
Yep. And one thing that I think you've both been talking about, I know, Matt, you've been just like almost screaming about, today's the day that we need to be pressing on every single wide receiver. Like you said, calculated risks in the blitz, and we need to be able to press on those wide receivers. If you want Vaughn to have a day, if you want our defensive line to be able to take advantage of some of their holes on the offensive line, we cannot continue to sit there and let wide receivers, have a 10-yard, 5 to 10-yard gap off the line of scrimmage from our nearest defender and let them eat us alive by check downs or a quick move that's going to beat us over the top or across the middle or whatever have you. So I really look for our corners to have to play well today too. So.
Absolutely. You have any other thoughts on the defense right now, Dave?
I just can't beat a dead horse enough. I mean, we have to put pressure on the quarterback. I mean, we haven't done it in 2 weeks. I mean, Vaughn got off to a hot start, 3 sacks in the first, was it 2 or 3 games? I can't remember off the top of my head, but
2, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and since then, he's pretty much been, not around. I mean, we put him in some bad situations. I think is last week when Vaughn ends up matched up on Claypool. That's not a good matchup, So Vic needs to be smart about his play calling on the defense. I agree with Matt. Get away from the blitz. Let's put some pressure on the quarterback organically with our 4 guys.
Yeah, something's got to change in the defense. You guys both highlighted, who needs to have an all-pro game on defense. So we'll kind of keep those as your guys' slot because we usually pick, our star of the game on both sides. For me, for today, for Denver to have a great game defensively today, Draymond Jones has to step up today. We need someone who's willing to create the interior pressure. He's the best suited for it. The dude can be, a havoc wrecker when he wants to be. He's got to turn on the Jets and leave them on. We need someone to go in there and disrupt it. You said Alex Leatherwood struggling. That's who's on Dre's side. Dre's got to go to town and eat on Alex Leatherwood today, because that's the biggest weakness they have right now is Leatherwood and their right tackle. So let's see what happens. I mean, Colton Miller's been struggling too, so that's no Von Miller's torn up Colton Miller in the past, so this is where he's got to go. And where's that? We got to see that elite quickness around the edge. But Dre's my guy on defense. We need to see something out of today. Harris, and I've got a couple comments. Harris and Purcell need to be a lot better inside. So before we move on, I have to put an apology out to Mike Purcell after the first game because I was kind of beating him up for a couple weeks. Since week 2, Mike Purcell has been the second highest rated nose tackle in the NFL,
according to
PFF and another sports metrics site.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to give them credit for what they do for that in terms of ranks. Alexander Johnson has been phenomenal as well in that sense. But unfortunately, what we talked about last week with Johnson, it's a one-dimensional game. As we've seen him drop how many interceptions last week?
Yeah. It could have been game changers,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't, unfortunately, PFF does not manage those metrics, and they should. But in terms of playing the position and their things like that, Purcell has drastically increased in staying home, not getting knocked on his back. So I'll give him my Matt Staffiero very, very seldom apology.
Well, and I believe that Purcell came into the season hurt, and I think he's getting a little healthier and a little stronger. Yeah, he's not being pushed around the way he was before. So I just got to give you a hard time about PFF, Matt. You know how I feel about those guys over there. So those guys across the pond are brilliant.
Right. All right. Before we move on to the next segment, Kenny's been commenting throughout the entire show, and I didn't even feel to give him the plug. It went right through, right over my head. But Kenny Kirkpatrick is part of K&K Sports, so they are a fantastic podcast trio. They got different guests coming in. They got 3 shows a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They run off East Coast time, so I don't have the times off the top of my head. But great show. There, you could even if you're commenting after they're live, they always come back and go through their comments. It's a great show, and if you are looking for betting advice, tune in on Thursdays. They got you taken care of. So shout out to K&K Sports. So moving on, next segment. offense. The topic of the week on almost every single Denver radio station you go to, this has been the topic: is what does this offense need to do to get back to the winning ways of weeks 1 through 3? We all have agreed, and I think we
Play
beat
3 of the 5
Shermer.
weakest teams in the NFL every week.
Hey, well,
I'm sorry.
hey, that is true. That is true. But we use that. A lot of people use that as a negative. And, sure, but at the end of the day, they're NFL teams. They are the worst, and that's true. But what we've seen is this team isn't not talented. Our offense is not talented. Is not talented.
Oh, I'm not saying our offense is not talented.
They have the ability to be not dominant, but they have the ability to control games, and that's the one thing we haven't seen. Denver has lost offensive control, and we point that at Pat Shermer. But Pat Shermer is only calling the plays. Eventually, we have to fault guys for lack of effort or being out of position, things like that. There's got to be some responsibility on the players themselves.
Yeah, and Ricky Newell does bring up a good point here. He says coaching, and I think coaching is where it all starts. But I agree with you, Matt.
Yeah,
we still have to go out and execute. No matter what the play is. And Jerry brings up a good point here too. If it's 3rd and 8, let's not throw 4-yard passes.
Well,
knock it off, Teddy.
I'm going to one up Jerry. Let's not be in 3rd and 8.
Well, that would be even better. So
yeah,
that would definitely be better. And Jerry says, stay on schedule, and that's what we need to do. We need to, first down, we need to get 4 yards. And I think that just opens up our playbook a little bit more, whether, if it's 2nd and 6 instead of 2nd and 9, it really gives us more options there. And so our guys need to execute. I think we need to be balanced in the whole thing. We can't abandon the run at the first sign of any kind of trouble. And that just seems to be our MO the last couple of weeks is, no, we're down by 7 points. We better get rid of the run game.
Yeah.
So.
Did someone take the panic button away from Pat Shermer today? Just physically rip the panic button away. Like if he's got like the panic sheet in his playbook, just take it out.
Right.
You see us panic way too early.
Somebody needs to get hold of that playbook and shred that page.
I love that, the panic sheet.
Yeah.
Or maybe Pat does like a Valium or something. The defense gets up a touchdown.
And this comment. Sorry, Matt. This comment here too is from Ricky Newell again. So.
Yeah, no, he's got a good point here. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of our coaching staff. I don't think very many of us have been for a while now. But at the same time, though, we have to respect that. Coaches aren't the one on the field. Yeah. And I'm quick to want to point it at, as a former player at any level, you always want to blame the coach for a poor performance. You're like, well, they could have just called us better plays. If they would have called I right 90 instead of I right left, whatever the, is, you're always going to find a way as a player to push it back on the coaches. But at the end of the day, we've seen a lack of effort at times. Unfortunately, we're banged up. We are seeing receivers like David Moore, who's brand new to the team. We're seeing today we're going to see John Brown. We don't really know what he's going to do today, but if he's out on the field, we have to understand that he's probably doesn't got a full understanding or grasp of Pat Shermer's playbook yet. But our offensive line hasn't looked the greatest. They're not calling. No one's calling plays for offensive line. I mean, they know the plays, but their responsibilities are going to be the same for every passing play. Their responsibility is essentially the same: block their proper assignment. Run game, same thing. It's blocking their assignment, but we're seeing them get knocked down. Garrett Bowles going back to holding, different things like that. So, we got to hold our players accountable too.
Let's not get on Garrett too much. He's had what one holding call, I think.
I'm just saying an example of.
Okay.
Things happen. It's a domino effect.
Right.
So
and Jerry brings up a good point here too: is get off to a fast start. It's something we don't do.
I went on the wrong one. Yep. That's another one that you went through. We talked about this Thursday. Record breaking, the worst stretch ever. 0-23 on the first drive. for touchdowns.
For touchdowns, yeah. Yep.
Unreal.
He's never scored an opening drive touchdown. Pat Shermer's never called it here in Denver.
That's amazing that,
How can you
this
do
hasn't
that?
happened by odd circumstance, receiver breaks a tackle, running back breaks a tackle. It's surprising that's just never even occurred. That's a stat that needs to change. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a stat that is just mind-boggling. How you can even do that?
Yeah.
The reason why it makes me so concerned and frustrated is, opening drive. They're usually the first 15 plays, or 15 to 20 plays of your, of the half, are scripted. So it just shows you how bad his opening script has been for 20, in this case, 23 straight games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. One of us three could probably go script a better first 15 plays and get us a touchdown on the opening drive.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Run for 2 yards, pass it for 20 yards down the field with the quarterback that you have to build up. Yeah,
right.
Maybe we could do better.
Yeah.
And then try to run it again, or throw on 3rd and 8. We'll throw a 4-yard pass.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So brilliant play calling.
I'll be the fire hose again. I'll be honest. Coming into this year, I was somewhat excited for this coaching staff. It takes a few years to put together your guys. It takes a few years to get your philosophy into place. And I really thought with the team and the talent that we put together, this was the year. You go through the first 3 weeks, even though they happen to be less than stellar teams, you put together 3 wins. But since then, it's getting tougher and tougher to be excited about this coaching staff unless they're willing to make changes, like we've been asking for, you know what I mean? Make changes to their game plan and not just come at us with the same philosophy, either going into a game or throughout a game. It's where they need to improve. And hopefully we'll see some new philosophies to start this game and, if needed, throughout the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I mean, it's getting bad, and this is a good point. How does this guy keep his job? And is this? I don't think it would happen this week. If it's going to happen, it would happen after the Cleveland game, I think, where you got a long stretch, either that or you hold out to the bye week. But I just don't understand how this guy continues to keep his job when he's just so inept at play calling. Him and Fangio have both shown that they're not willing to make changes. I don't know if it's they're willing. Do they just lack that ability to make in-game adjustments, effective in-game adjustments, I'll say?
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, as you've worked your way through, I mean, Pat Shermer at some point especially has to have demonstrated the ability to do those types of adjustments, or he would have never had his head coaching gigs. He would have never gotten repeated offensive coordinator gigs. He wouldn't be in the league. So at some point, he's had to demonstrate that he's been able to somewhat maintain mid-level success to even be relevant and be on a team like the Broncos, or the head coach of the Giants, or the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, or he's had to. So I think the ability is there. I think, is he choosing to ignore the what's in front of him because he's stuck in his ways? I think that's more of where it comes down to. I think he comes in with a one-track mind, and once that one-track mind, once his vision, he's got that tunnel vision. Once that something's blocked the exit of his tunnel vision, it just becomes a panic and any way to get out of this tunnel. And when we see Teddy Bridgewater throwing 38 times, we shouldn't be seeing that. 38 times, 17 runs over 2 running backs who are fully capable of having 1,000 yards. We shouldn't see that. But unfortunately, that's what happens.
And Sean Slade brings up a good point here. How does he keep his job? Because it's the NFL, and it's the good old boy network. And retreads do get hired again and again and again.
That's a perfect point.
And unfortunately, it's just the way it works. It's a small community but.
Well, yeah. And just to elaborate on that too, I think a lot of times plucking that head coach, that former head coach, to be a coordinator. There's a lot of expectations there. They just don't go as quickly. You know what I mean? This was a former head coach. You think that as the coordinator, they're going to do quite well. It'd be no different that if Vic Fangio left the Denver Broncos, midway through this year, next year, someone would pick him up as a defensive coordinator and have very high expectations and ride that for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
I think Matt on Thursday pointed out, the thing that Shermer has just been terrible about is adjusting his game to his players. I think that's the biggest, leap that a coach can make is when he starts adjusting his game plan to what his players' strengths are. And a lot of times it seems like Shermer is just trying to, as Matt put it, trying to get every player to fit into his system rather than taking any of their abilities or inabilities into context. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to actually do this comment first, then go back to the other one. He keeps his job because the young guns don't show anything better. Only Shanahan and McVay have pushed through. I'm going to slightly disagree with this a little bit because there have been other names that have kind of popped through and broken some of the, Matt LaFleur up there in Green Bay is another really good play caller who's kind of broken away and he, on this younger trend. This year, the anticipated head coaches, a lot of them are under 40 years old. We talk about Joe Brady in Carolina, Kellen Moore from Dallas. Unfortunately, Mike LaFleur from New York. I don't understand how he's getting any head coaching consideration, but he is. Mike McDaniels from San Francisco. There's a ton of these young guys that are getting ready to break the mold, and I think we'll see a lot of them. The NFL is going to continue this trend of youth. So I do think they're on their ways, and hopefully we see this constant retread kind of start to dissipate a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I think teams are going to have to move this direction to keep up with the way the NFL is heading. The way offenses are evolving and becoming more of these high-powered offenses. And I'm sorry, Pat Shermer's, 1980s West Coast offense really doesn't cut it anymore.
Correct.
I mean, you got guys like Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur. They all came off the Shanahan tree. Mike Shanahan, who, congrats to him, he's being inducted into the Ring of Fame today. However, these guys have taken that offense and they've evolved it.
Yep.
Shermer really isn't doing that. He's like, nope, I'm going to stick with what worked 20 years ago. And unfortunately, it's not effective in today's NFL.
No. The funny thing is I do think about some of those old coaches that are maybe effective, and the name that comes to mind is Andy Reid. Yeah, Andy Reid it seems like the type of guy where the game came to him. Like he was ahead of the game earlier in his career, and now that the game has come around to his way of thinking, man, I tell you what, he does quite well with his idea and his philosophy, and he always had a different philosophy than anybody else. Mm-hmm. Look at what he did up in Philadelphia and the like. So it's just there's plenty of good young coaches out there. Kingsbury would be another one that I'd throw.
That's what I was thinking of. I cannot remember his name. It was him and Stefanski from Cleveland. I was like, I got two more, but I can't think of the guy from Arizona's name.
Yeah. So there's lots of good young coaches that are really pushing the NFL in different directions. And like I said, and then I feel like you have like a guy like Andy Reid that's the game came around to. But a lot of these older NFL coaches are struggling. You know what I mean? You don't see the great. It used to be just an old boys league only. You don't see that as much anymore. So,
yeah, it's just time Denver gets up to speed with the rest of the NFL.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely. I wanted to address this question because I know we're going to switch over pretty soon to our little pick'em segment here in a few. But this is a good question. And one thing that I will say is Vic Fangio has been deemed as a very lackluster practice type of coach. They're not hitting very hard. They're taking it very slow. I mean, we heard Pat Surtain come out this offseason and say Alabama runs harder practices. And so, no, I don't think he's running them into the ground, leading to so many injuries. I think, of course, unfortunately, last year the COVID protocol eliminated so much time for these guys to get right and get healthy. I think that took wear and tear last year. But the biggest factor of all of this has actually been, I think the players are their own worst enemy here. They've been asking for more, we all want days off. We all want this. We want easier practices, less this and that. But when we're not getting those same reps that our body's been used to, because in college there's no NFLPA. It's Coach Saban says, get get yourself out here. We're running 2-a-days. You're getting your butt out there and you're running 2-a-days.
Right.
Same thing. You built most of your entire career. You're running these pretty lengthy and physical practices, and now we're having so much break in between and things like that. I think that their bodies aren't in the football shape they once were, and we're going to see more injuries that way.
No, and I agree 100%. I think all of this, or 90% of this, is on the NFLPA, and how they keep going back and saying, no, we want less practices, we want this, we want that, and I think it is affecting the strength and conditioning of these players.
Yeah, I think the most amazing thing for the Denver Broncos was the fact that, maybe we don't have the hardest practices, and then on top of it, you don't have, obviously the type of practices you had a decade ago. But we went into the preseason playing hard through the preseason with starters and came out relatively healthy. And then we started week 1 of the NFL season, and that's when we started getting all the injuries, which was kind of surprising. You'd figure a lot of injuries that you see week 1, week 2, week 3 were from those teams that didn't really play their starters in the preseason games. And it was kind of just odd for us to be in that situation where preseason we played hard and still came out with injuries when it came time to actual NFL games. So
yeah, and I would just like to point out, this is not a Bronco issue.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
injuries are rampant across the NFL, the last couple of years. So
yeah,
just think about with Baltimore coming into Denver and everything we talked about there. I mean, geez, those guys couldn't keep a running back on the field. Man, it was almost like a jinx. I don't know if I'd want to be signed by Baltimore there for a little while.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and I think as time goes on, I think the NFL will find a way to balance this out, because they need their money players on there, and I think this highlights it pretty well. It's not necessarily so much all of the players, but there is definitely a factor when the NFLPA keep advocating for less and less practice time, less and less mini camps, things like that. So hopefully it balances out soon. But back to this real quick. Just predicting a Broncos win today, looking at DB. So a similar thought process to you, Keith and Dave. You guys both highlighted the secondary is a place that needs to really show up today. But before we move on to the pick'em segment, we didn't highlight the guy we need to see step up on offense. And I think I don't know if you guys have one, but I have one in Noah Fant. I mean, this is, several weeks I've been calling this dude out, and it's been very minimal results. We need to find a way to get him in the game and use him. He can be a mismatch. He has a Darren Waller type skill set, a George Kittle type skill set. He's got the speed to make people miss an open space, but either is it lack of effort because we've seen him kind of catch it and just fall down? Is it not being part of the game plan? We need a mix of both. Some way we need to get him involved this week.
I think he's frustrated. When you get 4 targets in a game, that's not how you use a weapon like that. I mean, Fant should get at least 8 targets in a game, in my opinion.
Especially with their injuries right now.
Yeah, he can definitely create some mismatches, and this is another thing. Back on the Pat, he's not putting his guys in situations where they got these mismatches, and we can take advantage of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of it, you got the Judys and the Hamlers, and everybody else goes down. Sutton's coming back from injury, and there you are, Noah Fant, healthy, ready to go, and you're getting 4 targets. That's got to be a little rough. That's a little bit frustrating, right? As you put it.
It seems to be in agreement with us. So do you guys have a different player that you want to highlight, or are we all on the Noah Fant train today?
Oh, no. I think if I was going to pick out one, it'd probably be, Well, it's the running game. I'd want it to be Williams if it happens to be Gordon, but we need to be able to get our time of possession back. We need to be able to run the football. And I'm really hoping Williams is fed the ball today, and that's our guy that we see just again be our highlight on offense for this week. So,
and I agree with Keith. I think that's the key to us having a chance to win this game is to run the ball, run it effectively, and yeah, Williams or Gordon, whoever the featured back is, we can't run the ball 16 or 17 times a game. It's just not going to cut it. We need to, pound the ball, keep the Raiders on the sideline, keep our defense over on the sideline too, so they don't get tired out. So,
yeah, my magic numbers are 32 passing attempts, 26 rushes. That's my goal today, because this is a team that you can grind down. They just lost a huge blow into what their motivation and physicality is. I mean, they may use it as motivation today. Don't get me wrong. But this is a team you can grind out. This is not a team that's physically strong up front. You got some very great offensive and defensive linemen. You got to grind this game out today, especially in the run game. There's no reason why we should not hit 24 to 26 attempts today. There's really not. So,
agree.
All right, I think we are good to go to our pick'em segment. Dave, you ready?
I will get this pulled up here. Maybe. Hold on a minute. If I can figure out how to work everything.
Oh, yeah, no, that's all good. But
hey, just one thing I want to point out when it comes while you're getting that up, Dave. So the Raiders have 2 losses, right? They lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Bears. They have 2 wins that were in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
They barely won against the Dolphins after the Dolphins came out to a big lead. The Dolphins are not a strong team.
Right.
They'd had the Ravens in week 1, in which they barely won that game. You're looking at almost a 1-4 team rather than a 3-2 team, just depending upon how those situations play out.
Right.
Even the Steelers 26-17 win was not a blowout when the Steelers were supposed to be looking like one of the worst they were prior to facing us.
Right.
But, that being said, I mean, this is not necessarily just a bruiser of a team coming in, and with a lot of other questions, obviously, this week as well. So,
right. Hey, Matt, can you switch it to it's a shared screen?
yeah, I'm going to do it right now.
All right. Here we go. All right. Here's our standings through Thursday of week 6. Matt is starting to pull away from us, Keith. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to snip his Achilles heel or tendon or something. So,
I'd just be happy with catching up with you a little bit. Taking seconds. Jeez.
Hey, I'm happy I'm over 500.
There you go.
I'm good with that. So, but
what am I, 33-17? Is that this is?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So, why is this not? There we go.
Okay.
For the Thursday night game, I think this was a pretty easy one. We all picked Tampa Bay, even though it turned out to be a closer game than we thought. Another entertaining game on Thursday Night Football. So Thursday's sort of hitting the jackpot this year.
No kidding.
So, and currently the London game. So, Matt,
I picked Miami.
Any reason why you picked Miami?
I don't have any faith in Urban Meyer as an NFL coach.
And you know what? I am right there with Matt. I just do not have any faith in Urban Meyer. And then Keith, where'd you go?
Man, I went the opposite way. I figured the Jaguars had to get a win at some point. Miami is not that strong, and plus I need to catch up. So let's see.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll catch up and not fall farther behind.
And they are currently winning.
Awesome.
17-13 towards the end of the third period. So maybe you do get the upset here, Keith. I don't know if this is really an upset. These are 2 very bad football teams.
Yes.
So.
Wasn't an easy one to choose, that's for sure.
But
I think the real losers here is London, because they've gotten 2 pretty crappy games in a row.
They have. I mean, we really gave it to London this year. So Trevor's started to grow up a little bit, though, and I think as the season goes on, he's going to progress and just become that much better once he gets comfortable with all of his weapons that he has over there. I can,
Yep.
see him turning into he might be a pretty decent quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So far, his stats today: 18 of 28, 237 yards, 1 touchdown. On the other hand, surprisingly, a pretty good performance from Tua coming back from his injury: 23 of 35, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So,
Wow.
not a bad performance for a guy coming off, his 110th injury of his career.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, next game, we got Kansas City Chiefs at the Washington football team. Matt, your thoughts on this game?
I pick Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to. I think Washington can beat them, though.
I don't want to either. I do too. If Washington can get their defense right, but right now I just see Kansas City outscoring Washington. Keith?
Yeah, I got to go KC as well, even though they've been struggling. Maybe this is their chance to get back on track. Don't want to see it, but that's what I'm picking.
Yeah, Heineken's been doing good on the offense. So
yep. Rams at the Giants. Does anybody want to do Kenny a favor?
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm bold, but I'm not that bold.
I'm going to ask a question. How big of a blowout is it?
I think it's closer than you think. The game is in New York. I think I don't think it's going to be like a 20-point win. Los Angeles, their offense is kind of stunted the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's not been as great as it had been. Giants got a decent defense. I think it's only I say it's less than 14 points.
Yeah, and this is a 10 a.m. game, LA time. So yeah, this is really early for these guys. They play these later afternoon games. They're usually waking up about this time. So
no kidding.
Keith, do you see a close one, or do you see the Rams just dominating here?
Unfortunately, I can't either. I see the Rams dominating in this situation. I just don't. I think the Giants are just too beat up and haven't shown anything as far as consistency, and the Rams will get back on track and really start putting up some points, I think. So.
And that defense, I just don't think in New York's going to be able to do anything against that defense. And I see a Rams dominant win here.
Yeah.
All right, next game. This is a beauty here. Houston, Texas at Indianapolis Colts.
As much as I want to have any kind of like faith in the Texans, it's just not there. I think Carson Wentz finally, he had a pretty good performance last week. I think he continues that trend today.
And I agree. I mean, Carson Wentz is playing. I mean, he's not playing horrible. He played really good last week, and unfortunately, they just couldn't hold that lead against the Ravens. But he played a great game. Keith, where are you at?
Yeah, on the same boat. The guy with no ankles gets it done today. So,
yeah,
no ankles.
All right, we got Cincinnati Bengals at the Detroit Lions.
I'm gonna take I'm not taking the Detroit Lions. I'm gonna go Cincy.
Yeah, I am too. I think this offense of Cincinnati is just too talented. I'm gonna say this though: Detroit is not an 0-5 team.
No, absolutely not.
So I wouldn't be shocked if this is a close game, but I see Cincinnati pulling it out.
Yep. Joe Burrow's just been impressive coming back off that injury. Really thought it'd slow him down. Hasn't shown one bit of that. He's been playing great. Cincinnati.
Yeah, I do feel that Cincinnati, while they look kind of like mid-level darlings right now, I do feel that they're overachieving and will come back down to reality.
I just don't really know if that. I just don't know if that team really is overachieving. They haven't been winning by defense; it's been offense. So.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying their defense is doing enough to keep the points down. So I think their defense gets exposed, and it's going to be harder and harder for them to put up the points as its competition gets better.
Yeah.
All right, Green Bay Packers at Chicago. This might turn out to be a pretty entertaining game this morning.
Yeah. You have no idea how bad I wanted to go. I'm a huge Justin Fields supporter. You know that. I wanted to dive into that, but I think Green Bay storms into Soldier and takes the W.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm right there with you, Matt. I wanted to go Chicago too. I mean, Chicago's defense is pretty dang good, but they're playing Aaron Rodgers, and I think Aaron Rodgers after Week 1 and what happened, and everybody was like, "Oh, great, Aaron can't play. The Packers are done," and now they've just rolled off 4 straight wins. So,
Do you think? I mean, I
going
wouldn't put it past Aaron Rodgers to be somewhat kind of like sarcastic to show him what it'd be like with subpar quarterback play. Just shove it. Like, this is what you get if you don't have me. Here's a quarterback that half-asses it.
right.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, his interview said it. If you didn't need me, then get rid of me. I mean, he's the kind of guy that doesn't give too much. So I don't know.
Well, he gives enough this Sunday. I'll
true.
have to go with you guys and call it a Packer win though. So.
Well, I think there's only been one game so far that we've picked differently.
Yeah, I mean, you are neck and neck, Dave. I don't think you and I have deferred to yet.
That's Keith picking Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've all been the same.
Yeah. It's the week is starting, or the weeks are starting to make it easier to make some of these picks, I think. So.
Yeah. Los Angeles Chargers at the Baltimore Ravens. I think this might be the game of the week. We're probably
going to defer. I think right now I feel Justin Herbert is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And that's not because he's on my fantasy team. That's just reality. The dude is phenomenal, and he's going to be a problem for us here in Denver for 10 years. So,
yeah, and I agree. If San Diego's defense can keep this thing close, and not let Lamar run around and go crazy, I think San Diego can win this thing, and I said it twice.
Yeah, I was going to wait for you to finish. And
the Chargers can win this thing. So I'm going to go Chargers.
Well, you mentioned how the Chargers have a fantastic quarterback in Herbert, but, they got a fantastic one on the other side, guys. Man, I'm hoping I'm making up some wins and also knocking down an AFC West opponent because I picked the Ravens in this one. So.
And I hope you're right,
Keith. With that outcome.
Plus, speaking of fantasy, Lamar's my fantasy quarterback, so hopefully he just balls out today. So,
all right, no problem with that, obviously.
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings at Carolina Panthers.
Straight beast. Okay. Who did I pick? Oh, I'm gonna stay committed to the Sam Darnold Carolina train. Their defense is phenomenal. Kirk Cousins is gonna get rocked today.
So I was going to go Carolina until I heard that McCaffrey's not playing today. Sam Darnold is average at best without McCaffrey.
Hey, DJ Moore doesn't think so.
Well, good for DJ Moore. They lost their last 2 games without McCaffrey.
Yeah,
an average to Matt's darling in quarterback, Matt Darnold, and in fantastic defense, I think gets it done against Minnesota, and I picked the Panthers. So,
all right.
Real quick, Kenny's upset of the day. Washington upsets KC. Ravens are finding ways to win each week. I agree with Keith. So,
man, that is the upset. That is the upset of the day. Washington football team over Kansas City. Boy, yeah. I would be happy.
Hell, I'm going to be happy if the Ravens win too. If the Ravens beat Los Angeles and we go kick the Raiders in the teeth, we got we back in contention, baby.
Right
back.
Yep. All right, that concludes the morning games. Afternoon game, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the Cleveland Browns.
After the news broke that Cliff Kingsbury and a couple of their coaches came out, I was kind of hesitant to stay with the Cardinals, but I'm riding Arizona until someone shows me they can find a way to beat them. That offense is nasty. Kyler Murray's playing great. I mean, they got I can't even think of a bad player on their team offensively right now.
Right, and I was going to go with Cleveland, and then I found out Nick Chubbs is not playing, so I'm going to go with Arizona as well. But I would not be surprised if Cleveland beats them just because of that nasty defense that Cleveland has.
Nick Chubb out, and actually, if you look at Baker Mayfield's stats, he's kind of a mediocre quarterback this year. I don't think they get it done in Arizona, so Arizona it is.
I agree.
Comments
Baker.
of the gay right here. Ravens are gonna win 14 games to get knocked out. Week one of the playoffs. You're preaching, man. That's how it goes for them, unfortunately. Browns
in the pound. All right. Dallas Cowboys. You know, I'm really getting tired of the NFL always flexing New England to these afternoon games, trying to slide them closer and closer to prime time. It's not the New England Patriots of 5 years ago. It's like, come on, NFL, knock it
Roger
off.
must
Let them
owe
play.
Kraft a favor or something.
Let
Because
them play an 11 o'clock game. They're back east, you know.
Right.
Anyway, Matt, who you got here?
yeah, you know, maybe I don't know. Are they flexing this game because of New England? Or are they flexing this game because Dallas is on a roll? And
I don't even know if they flexed it. I wanted it was
okay.
probably just scheduled for this time, but
All right. Well, I don't. I'm taking Dallas, and it's their offense has been playing pretty good, but that defense, no one thought it was going to come on. Dan Quinn has been he was a phenomenal defensive coordinator up in Seattle. It fell apart in Atlanta, and now he's right back to being the same. Having his reputation.
and I'm gonna go the same way. I don't think New England can slow down this offense, and this Cowboys defense it's phenomenal. Keith's been preaching it all season. You know, this Cowboys defense. I think we're all finally starting to see it.
Yeah.
Where you at,
Keith? Gotta go with the star on the helmet on this one, man. They just been rolling.
Makes me sick.
Yeah, it makes me sick as well. So,
obviously,
all right, we only have 3 late games today.
Yeah.
Or 3 2:00 games, and then we have the game tonight, Seattle at Pittsburgh. When the NFL scheduled this was supposed to be a great matchup. You know, Russell Wilson against Ben Roethlisberger. Matt, where are you going here?
I took Pitt and I took him before we knew Russell Wilson was going to IR. We knew he was going to be banged up, but I mean, even then, this Seattle team has not been the team they were of last few years. Their defense is declining. Their offense is become somewhat reliant on Tyler Lockett, and if Tyler Lockett's not available, it falls apart. So,
and I'm gonna go Steelers as well. I think Ben can have his way with this Seattle defense, sort of the way he had his way with Denver.
And I'm going to go just the opposite of what you said, Dave. I think that Seattle can actually dominate against this. Seattle can dominate against this Pittsburgh defense or offensive line, and expect to see Ben on the ground a lot and some interceptions. And in Geno, we trust. I think
Geno Smith. My friend Geno Smith. So, all right, and then we have the Monday night game. The Buffalo Bills at the Tennessee Titans.
I think this game's going to be closer than most think. Buffalo, when they have a hard time stopping the run against competent running backs. Derrick Henry is probably the best running back in the league, but Buffalo is going to win the game. Josh Allen's playing phenomenal. We're going to go for that. So.
I think if Tennessee can run the ball and run it effectively and control the clock and keep Josh Allen on the sideline, I think they win this game. Unfortunately, I don't think that happens. I'm going Buffalo.
Way to build it up.
We talked a lot about that Dallas team and how they've been rattling off wins week after week. We see similar trend in Buffalo, and until that falls off, got to go with Buffalo. So, Buffalo it is.
All right.
Kenny thinks Titans get it.
Ooh,
boy,
that's
man.
A hot one, I think.
He's full of hot takes today.
Is it a letdown week after going into Kansas City?
Yeah,
kicking some ass. I don't know.
I don't know. All right, winner.
As much
winner,
as
score.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
As much as it pains me to do this, I'm not picking the Raiders. I'm going the Broncos. I think the Broncos come back today. I think we see balance return to this team. Las Vegas is in turmoil. They're going to have a new offensive play caller. Their offensive line has been struggling. I think we see Denver come in and kick Las Vegas in the teeth, and we win 31-10.
All right. and I'm going the other way.
Take it, Dave.
I
Last
do-
time you doubted us, we won, so I'll take it.
I do not trust this coaching staff,
I don't either.
you know, and if we cannot put pressure on Derek Carr, it's going to be a long afternoon for our secondary. We don't have anybody who can cover Waller, you know. Ruggs is way too fast, and he can catch, you know, and you got Renfro as well, you know, who's a route
Tactician.
Yeah, tactician, that word. That, you know, he may eat Patrick Surtain alive. You know,
Don't say those things to me.
I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
I don't want to do this, but I see I see the Raiders winning this thing 27-13.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, we've
And
seen
watch
two.
one other thing I need to throw in there too. Watch out for Max Crosby.
That's a good one. Yeah, he's a beast, man. We've seen two Raiders teams. The first half Raiders, in which they scored 33, 26, and 31 in order to get wins. And then we've seen the second half Raiders where they've scored 14 points and 9 points. I think they make it a true second half team. They don't score that many points. I put them with 17 points, Broncos 21, and a Broncos win.
Take it. There we go.
Well, I forgot to put Keith on there, but I know Keith did pick the Broncos. That's who I have on the sheet. So
I had a tie. Just kidding. No.
So, but
You know, as it comes down to it today, it's going to come down to balance and physicality, two things we struggle with in 2 weeks in a row. And I think it's, you know, I think the players show up today. I don't know if I trust this coaching staff, but I think Teddy Bridgewater has the prowess to start making some of these reads and realize that he has an incompetent fool as an offensive coordinator. And he takes the game into his own hands and is starting to shift into some of these runs. He has the ability to do it. Is Pat going to like it? No, but I know he doesn't like Drew Lock either. So if I'm Teddy, I take the risk today.
well,
Yeah. For me, it's all about, and I've talked about it in the trenches, but I think this is one of the weeks we actually can get pressure on the offense from our defense. I think we can get pressure up front. I think they do have issues on the edges, and I think we do get sacks and we keep Carr unbalanced this week. Hopefully the secondary stands up strong enough. Like I said, they should get opportunities in those situations. We've been a blitz-heavy team, but it's been blitz-heavier in the second half when we feel like the game's wildly out of control with an 11-point deficit in the game. So I think we stay on track today, and I think we just get pressure up front. And that's the big difference in what we see in today's victory. So,
and what I see is we start slow again like we always do because Pat Shurmur can't figure out how to get this offense jump-started. You know, we fall behind by 10 points, and Pat Shurmur's just going to abandon the running game again and put Teddy in situations that he is not comfortable in. And I don't think Teddy is comfortable enough to go out there and start bucking Pat Shurmur and checking out of pass plays in the running place.
I think he's got to. This is his. If he does not make this work here, this may very well be his last chance to ever be a starting quarterback in the NFL again.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah, he's smart enough to do it. He's an insanely intelligent quarterback. He's got to. He's got to, for lack of a better term, grow a pair. If he's not comfortable in something, or if he's reading the defense different than Pat and he sees a better opportunity, then he's got to take those risks. That's what the great quarterbacks do.
Well, yeah, great quarterbacks.
He has
not mediocre quarterbacks.
He has potential to be better than that. I mean, we
better than great.
Better than mediocre.
Oh, okay.
I think he can be great. I think he can be. I mean, had the injury never happened, would we be talking about Teddy Bridgewater in the same context now?
Teddy Bridgewater wouldn't be playing in Denver if the
he wouldn't,
injury
but
never
I'm just
happened.
Saying,
so,
I think we're quick to write him off. He's an extremely intelligent quarterback.
I'm not saying he's not intelligent, but I just don't know if he's just not comfortable bucking Pat Shurmur.
Then he's going to find himself without a job next year.
Calling it hard here, man.
Somebody will
I have
pick
to
him
agree
up.
with Dave,
As a
though.
backup, yeah.
You know,
But he wants that 20 mil a year money, so he's got to show up.
yeah, I've never seen Teddy be that guy, man. He's a great locker room presence, and he's a leader in his own way. But he's not one to just go straight up start defying or. I would at least love to see a good conversation on the sideline between Teddy and, being on the phone up to Pat and see some stuff working out at least, that would be my bucking the trend of him getting on the phone and say, maybe even seeing a little bit more of a heated discussion and with him on the sideline. That would be fantastic to see, you know what I mean? Just
something.
Just to start pushing back, but I don't see him just straight up being like, no, we're not running that, guys.
Right.
No,
yeah. I don't
I
see
necessarily mean it in that sense. I'm not saying necessarily calling it as that. I'm saying making the proper shifts at the line of scrimmage.
I just don't see
that
him
it's a
going.
slant, I'm saying, okay, well, I see that I have a wide open gap, to the left. I can go up to a gap if I call a draw here. It's 2nd and 7. Let's make this third man. I'm talking like those minor shifts, not like
I just don't see Teddy going rogue like that. But like Keith said, let there be some animated conversations on the sideline between Teddy and Pat if Pat's not calling the proper game. And you know who else needs to get a little animated with Pat is Vic Fangio.
Correct.
Pull your head out, Vic. You're a head coach. You're not a defensive coordinator. Manage this team the way you were hired to manage it. What I would like to see, and Victor will love this, is to see Teddy go running up the stands into the press box or the coach's box and throw Pat Shurmur out the window.
Could you want to call a better game as OC? I mean, could he?
So, but here's my hot take, gentlemen. Denver gets beat today. The offense again is lackluster for the 3rd week in a row. Pat Shurmur is fired.
That might be better victory for.
So I don't think it'll happen tomorrow. I don't think it'll happen between now and the Cleveland game, but it would happen after the Cleveland game, I think.
I think you got to bribe him here. I think Kenny's got a good point.
Well, maybe.
Tuck in a new play sheet, too, for Pat.
Yeah, well, Vic doesn't like fancy food. I mean, he goes to Elway's restaurant and he orders a hamburger, So I could make him a hamburger. I could,
Wait, you're telling me he goes to Elway's and orders? What? He got it.
When he came in for his interview and Elway and Fangio and whoever, I think Joe Ellis, when they went to Elway's for dinner that night, Vic Fangio ordered a hamburger. Mike Kliss got a hold of the receipt somehow. So
he still's got a job, and he still's got a job. All right. Well, on that note, before we always kind of end the segment on this in the show on this. What's on the menu today?
I don't really have anything great. I just got a new Blackstone griddle that I built yesterday. I need to go and season the cast iron on it. If I get that done, then I'm gonna maybe throw together some Philly cheesesteaks, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time to get that done today. So Alex is gonna have to stop by Taco Bell or something, pick up some tacos or something for us to eat during the game.
Nice. And you're out in beautiful Utah on
I'm sure Keith's gonna be eating some good
vacation.
food.
You guys got any plans to go out tonight?
We actually went out the other night, but we got Park City lined up. We'll find a place. If they're just chock full of some of the most fantastic restaurants you can imagine. So I'll give myself a good meal. Don't worry about me.
I guess the question is, any place out there to watch the Broncos game, or is that on your agenda?
Oh yeah, it's on the agenda, and I have a 50-inch flat screen TV mounted to the wall here in the place. And wife said, "Hey, let's just watch the game here today." So man, I'm up for a good game. So
okay.
Man,
and Matt, what do you have? Matt's over there eating already, so I don't know.
I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. I got the kids brought marshmallows down to my wonderful studio.
Yeah, where he finally is. If everyone has noticed, Matt finally got rid of the light behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now
the halo is gone. I am no longer.
I know Matt. I don't think Matt's wife watches his show, so I think I'm safe saying this.
Oh, you
But
would
Matt
hope not.
Matt stole the lamp that's supposed to go in their bedroom and put it downstairs.
Oh, good God.
It's been sitting next to the couch for like 2 months, like behind it. I'm like, might as well use it now.
Maybe she was waiting for you to put it up in the bedroom, Matt.
Maybe wait until next year. But anyways, back to my menu. I'm taking a page out of the Slade cookbook. I'm doing a chili of my own today. So I'll have to let you guys. I don't got a smoker, so I'm not gonna be all fancy. Sitting in the slow cooker since about 4 a.m. this morning, though. So,
So
has the smell made it all the way downstairs yet?
not yet. I mean, if it did, I wouldn't be here.
yeah, I'm surprised Matt's not sitting there with a bowl of chili with marshmallows in it right now.
I don't know if I'd do that. I mean, I'm pretty adventurous, but I don't know if I'm that adventurous.
So, and Matt, easy, turn your grill into a smoker easily. Go on Amazon.
Have to send me the YouTube video.
Go on Amazon, order yourself a $16 smoke tube, and get you some pellets, and you can load that thing full, light it up, you'll get smoked.
Perfect.
So be perfect.
All right.
We'll teach you one of these days, Matt.
I'll take any advice I can get.
All right.
Anyways,
well,
all of us except for Dave today.
I hope I'm wrong. I was wrong when I picked the Giants to beat the Broncos. Hopefully I'm wrong again today, and hopefully the Chargers lose and the Chiefs lose, and we wake up tomorrow and Pat's a hero because Pat called this awesome game plan, and we're sitting in first place by ourselves.
Yeah. Pat's got a lot of heat on his back. I mean, he's been getting punched around by media. I mean, he said that he doesn't even listen to it anymore, but let's be real.
That's
as a human, that negativity, I mean.
Well, he may not listen, but I'm sure somebody's telling him.
It gets to you. It's riding on your shoulders. You got to, the entire – I cannot think of an analyst here in Colorado that is on his side right now. So he's got the odds stacked against him. I hope he can shed the pressure. I mean, I don't care for him as an offensive coordinator, but I have a deep-seated love for this Denver Bronco team, and I need to see them play better, or it's gonna be a very long season.
Yeah. So. And Kenny's gonna be working today, Kenny. So have a good day at work, and yeah, definitely enjoy that steak Thursday night with your Willow Seasonings blends. So all right.
My last hot take, guys. Raiders have given up 15 sacks so far this year. That's 3 a game. I'm saying that we get a total of 5 sacks today.
And I hope you're right.
5 sacks. That's going to be the difference in the game.
I hope so, because if we can get that kind of pressure, then we win the game. I just don't see it happening, and I don't see Pat calling a smart game plan.
Well, I don't see Pat necessarily calling a great game plan either. That's why we have 5 sacks and a 24-17 win.
I'm gonna one up your last hot take. My last hot take for the day is we're gonna see 175 rushing yards plus today.
Wow.
I think Javonte Williams finally breaks 100 yards. I think Teddy gets a couple in there for about 20, and the rest is Gordon.
What's in that marshmallow bag?
It's just your normal marshmallow puff, baby.
Are those Colorado marshmallows that you can buy at those funny stores?
Yeah, I think they are.
I work in human services, guys. I have to stay clean.
So,
I have a reputation to withhold.
Kenny, we'll see you later. Have a great day. Hopefully you're right, Matt. I hope Keith's right. I hope this is just a dominating Denver win. I don't have faith in this coaching staff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a hope and a whim right now, and I think Keith and I are just hoping that we can come out with a victory. The odds are this is actually a pretty balanced game. This is 2 teams that are struggling and reeling, and it's just going to come down to whose desire wants it more. And unfortunately, coaching is going to be an issue essentially on both sides. This is
maybe one thing that really gets Denver fired up is the induction of Mike Shanahan into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I mean, the Ring of Fame. So hopefully that really gets them going. So,
I will say at least this is one week that we can feel like we have a little better position as far as our head coach. We might not be able to say that from here on out.
I don't know, man. This special teams coach from the Raiders might turn out to be he might be our next head coach. He'll just knock it out of the park, and he'll be our head coach next year.
There you go.
Yeah. Speaking of head coaches, real quick, The more I watch the Los Angeles Chargers, the more I cannot believe how we just let Brandon Staley just walk out the door.
Yeah.
The dude is phenomenal. I mean, his presence on the field, the way he's calling games has been fantastic for the defense. He's brought in a good staff. He holds his players accountable, and the way he navigates a room full of reporters and whatnot. I don't know how you let someone with that much potential just walk away.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I like about him too, accountability starts with him.
Yeah.
It may be Vic should take a note out of his page.
Yeah, we were talking about young coaches that were on the rise. We focus so much on offense, we kind of slid him under the rug, but
right.
He's another one to add to that list. So,
well, we talk about Elway not being able to pick quarterbacks. Coaches has been just as bad. I mean, that's the second Chargers head coach that came from the Broncos in a row.
Yep.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we had coaching interviews come through, we had people like Kyle Shanahan come through.
Yeah. Kyle Shanahan should have never left.
I will put it
so
this
as bad
way.
as he is picking QBs, it might be the debate is he is worse picking head coaches or QBs.
Yeah, it's been terrible.
I think his head coaching record is probably worse. So
yeah, and I hate to say this, but I mean, looking back at VJ, I mean, how much did Vance Joseph really have control of this team, and how much was it Elway pulling the strings? Because look at Arizona's defense; it's nasty. Look at the Vance Joseph coaching tree. All of them are in coordinator positions, and like 30% of them are being considered as head coaches next year. Most importantly, with Joe Woods, who was our defensive coordinator out in Cleveland, he's killing it. So how much of was it? Did we have a bad coach, or was it just too much micromanaging? So we won't ever know. We're not behind closed doors.
Yep.
But with that being said, let's get the win today, guys. If we don't,
please
it'll be a
hope
sad
I'm
show
wrong.
today.
As much as I want to catch Matt in this pick'em, I hope I'm wrong on this one.
If not, you'll see me with a tub of ice cream. Tears everywhere after this game. So
and Keith, I'm sure we won't see you on the post game show tonight.
I might not be able to make it, guys. So,
I assume that. So, I'm sure
years
your
of marriage
wife
is
your wife's probably over there right now saying, "Hey, I gave you an hour. You're rolling on an hour and a half now."
Yeah, she's over there. All right, guys. Well, let's let Keith get out of here. We'll reconvene. We'll chat throughout the game like always, and
all right,
we'll see where it goes.
6
Thanks
o'clock
everyone
tonight.
for
see everybody at 6 tonight. Hopefully, victory celebration.
Yeah,
let's go Broncos country.
All right, go ahead. I'm going to close it out. If you guys want to head off, I'll do a solo act here. Rocky Mountain Sports Report is also looking to always bring in new talent. So if you are interested in joining Rocky Mountain Sports Report, either as an analyst, a content producer, I'm looking for some administrative help. So anybody, if you guys are interested, please reach out to me, and we will circle up, get the application filled out, and get interviews completed. So it's a blast working with these guys, and hopefully you wouldn't think I'm a terrible boss, but we got plenty of time, to make these things work. So if you're interested, give me a call, shoot me a PM, and we will go from there. Well, thanks for watching us today, guys, and go Broncos.